And there's 5 areas you need to think about in your voice. Your pitch, your pace, your volume, your emphasis and your pausing. The pitch is a natural musical note of your voice. It can be a low pitch, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, an interesting voice will have what we call pitch variations. You may start with one word, low, and end at high. Good morning. Good afternoon. Now that's why you're using a variation of pitch to make a point. Now, one thing about pitch is you can make a voice really interesting if you work on your pitch. A lower pitch voice has authority, has gravitas. People will follow a low pitch voice. A lot of newsreaders have low pitch voices and it gives them authority. But a higher pitch voice has more energy and enthusiasm. And you need at times to have a combination. Now, if your pitch is at one level, it's about your pace as well. Pace has got to vary as well, but it's got to be at a pace which the audience can hear what you're saying. So too fast is too fast, can't catch what you're saying. Too slow becomes a bit like this continuous communication. People tune out because there's nothing by which the up and down of pitch and pace keeps people interested in the voice. So working on the voice is really important. A point I made earlier about speaking at half your natural. When you speak like that, it's good to put a bit of emphasis on certain what we call key words. Especially if it's something we're talking about in terms of, well, this is a revolutionary new process. We're so excited about this. We're changing the pitch and the pace just to add a little bit of extra to a voice. And great presenters know how to use the voice to really sell an idea, put across the importance of an idea. Volume's got to be loud enough for the whole audience to hear. Not too loud. Some voices project very well, some are too soft. What you need to do is make sure that you speak appropriately to the group. My tip is always speak behind the heads of everybody in the room in a small group. So you're just speaking there. So it will vary a little bit in volume there and slightly softer here. In a large group, you need to make sure that you do project. But if you've got audio-visual equipment, that usually takes care of that so people can hear you. Emphasis is really important. You emphasise points in your presentation. Again, coming down to the point, you emphasise words and phrases. Things where you want people to pay particular attention to a point in a presentation. It could be a diagram, a bullet point, it could be something you've talked about, but you now need to be able to use those areas of emphasis to make sure that people can see. So this is really, really important. You can emphasise by repeating a word. Repetition is great for presentation. There's 3 things you need to know in terms of property development. Location, location, location. Now, repetition isn't a bad thing to do, but again, what you're doing is you're making an emphasise. Whenever you can emphasise them, yeah, you really do. Certain things, if you remember, what I said yesterday, if you want somebody to remember something, you've got to make them remember. And the voice, and the way you use the voice, and the words you use can actually help with that. The last one is pausing, though. Really, really important. This is where you're saying nothing, but saying lots. Pausing allows you to be able to, 1, allow the audience to think through a point. So if I say something and I pause for a second or 2, and when you pause, count Mississippi. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi in your head. Not out loud, it's not good out loud, but in your head it's good. So if you made a point, learn to count so the audience can take that in. They can reflect upon and absorb. Now, again, this is good if you're speaking to English, an audience where it's a technical subject, or English isn't the first language for a number of the delegates, because they've got to translate it into their own language, make sense of it, and that sort of thing. So sometimes you need to give them just a little tiny bit longer between making key points so that people can take it on board, so they can reflect upon it. Great speakers know the value of pausing for real emphasis. It's almost like making a really good point. And if you, tell you what, really, really accomplished speakers can make a point and pause just to the point where it becomes noticeable. That people there can say, why are we stopping here? And where are we going? Now, it takes real courage to do something like that. Yeah. Some people develop that sort of presentation style, where it is more pausey, as we call it, but it is quite impactful if you develop that. Now, it doesn't work for everybody, it doesn't work for every tone of voice or type of delivery, but it is worth doing. And on a simple thing, when you make a bullet point, pause at the end of it, especially if you make that point. If you have a key message, make sure to give the audience at least 2 Mississippis or 2 seconds to take on board what you said. And that's a great way of using the voice to be able to get the message across. Your voice, I like the voice to be like, the words that you use, research has shown words count for about 7% of your overall message. The voice, 38%, nearly 40%. It's like the voice are carrying the words. The voice are the wings that carry the words to the audience. The better the wings, the better the voice, the better the way in which the words are carried to the audience. So that's an area which all presenters should learn to present and practice using the voice.